So let me just jump right into it. I don't want to spend too much time talking about it. I think the visuals will explain itself. So basically, I'm going to go into this cold. Um, so if I was designing a character, let's just block in something real quick. And doing this in real time. So let's just get a nice quick form in there so I can illustrate. And I should have did this earlier, but like I said, right from the beginning, kind of want to show everything. All right, so maybe some dude just standing there. I don't know. We just need a shape. And this process, and you'll see what I mean. This process, you can actually use it on anything. It doesn't have to be on characters. It can actually, you can use it on machines, architecture, design, whatever you're doing, whatever type of visualization you're trying to pull off. Clipping masks will certainly help out in some cases. All right. And I really don't have an idea of what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna draw a form and then start throwing in illustrations and noodle things here and there, and maybe even throw some textures in there. Actually, I'm going to rely heavily on textures just to accelerate this process. All right, so let's put that dude to the side. Let's do another one real quick. Oops. Sorry, I had to set something up here on the recorder. And what helps me when I'm blocking things in is if I'm looking at reference, I'll blur my eyes. Sometimes blurring my eyes will take the distraction of the detail away, and it helps me just really focus in on the form. I don't want to get too fancy pants here. And obviously doing research in terms of what you are doing, if there's parameters to draw around, like setting up parameters for yourself will help you drive design. So, and what I mean by that is like, okay, what are you gonna do? Well, I'm gonna do space bounty hunter, right? So you start looking up things that kind of relate to those, and maybe that's what we'll do. I still like to use kind of an armature approach when I'm doing basically anything. It helps me kind of figure things out, you know. Like I'll still draw that femur bone and then just kind of block in everything around it. And this dude's kind of walking. Oops. Alrighty. Now, alright, so flip the canvas, check out the dude's looking at the same direction. I'm going to pull up some images, and these were pulled from Noah Bradley's photo pack on ArtStation. These were shared to me by my good buddies. Okay, so let's break this down. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to bring in this texture, which is extremely huge. Let me just scale that down. And you can go out and take your own photos too. That's why it's really cool nowadays, where no matter where you go, you can find inspiration anywhere. You got a camera in your pocket. So I'm gonna put that off to the side there. What I typically like to do is maybe do a basic light pass, just something really, really quick. So I'm gonna take a soft brush, and this layer that I have this form on, I'm gonna go ahead and click. I don't know if you can see it here. I wish I had that magnifying deal, where it says there's under your layers, in your layer palette, there's an option that says lock. When you hit lock, no matter what you do, that's a bad example, it's always going to paint within that form, right? So using that idea, I'm going to paint in my light. So I'm just going to do a basic pass. I'm just going to have a light source come from the top. So it's just a nice fat brush to get kind of a an idea of that shape, defining those shapes a little bit more. It's coming down here. It's probably more light there. And I'm imagining this kind of cone, this cone of light hugging this shape, and I'm looking at seeing where the shadow would fall and on each individual shape. So for example, this head, obviously the cranial part will probably absorb a lot of that light, and then now you'll get little details that define the rest of the face. Your nose will probably catch light, a little bit of the lip, the cheek, that things like that, depending on what you're doing. Yeah. And usually when I'm doing these kind of things, I like to just kind of find center on each shape. So if I know that dude's looking that way, I know the center of his face is there. If his chest is going this way, I'm going to draw that line there to define that. And I know where that shoulder ends. It's probably going to be there. So things that are based off function, like the shoulder has to be articulated there. So there has to be the visual function to display that. Same thing with this. Just kind of imagine, and I'm sure cosplayers would know this pretty well, because they have to build this stuff. So you're almost kind of thinking like a cosplayer. And and it takes practice. You just got to keep working it, and you pick up things here and there. And that's why observational drawings and paintings are really valuable. All right, so I think that's good enough. That's kind of a good base. Let's bring in some more light. Have that hit. Not be too much. Let's recenter that. Bottom of that rib cage. Okay. Well, I can already tell this is going to go over 10 minutes, so you can just scratch that idea. That's okay. Dope. I like it. Alrighty. Alright, so I don't know exactly what I'm going to pull from this image, but I'm going to go ahead and try to use it. So I'm going to make a clone of that, and what I do to do that is I hold down Shift and Alt and then just drag on it, and it just click and drag either with a mouse or a pen, and it does that. So, and what I like to do, I'll put it over the form, and I'll drop the opacity so I can still see what the hell is going on. And now I take this texture and I literally put it in the layer stack on top of that form, right? And in between the layers, gosh, this is really hard to see. In between these layers, if I hold down Alt, within that line, you're going to notice it turns into this kind of weird icon. It has an arrow and this kind of box. And what that represents is the clipping mask. So I just clip it on, oops, daisies. I clip it on there. And you can see the layer structure is a little different. Like it shifts to the right and it has this kind of arrow and that kind of points, or that's pointing down saying, I am parented to this shape and I'm going to respect the shape. So that texture will clip itself using that mask, clipping masks. So from here on out, there's a lot of cool things that I can pick and it will still remain. I like this circle. So I'm going to select that and it's on that layer. I will cut it, paste it back in, and it pasted it on top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it back down into that layer stack so it's still kind of, you know, within that shape. Drop that. And now you can actually, you know, manipulate it. You know, this is the fun part. I like using the warp tool. You got distort and warp. So I use both of those quite a bit. I have those assigned to hotkeys. So that's to distort, and to warp is to actually, you know, give you the ability to bend it in very organic ways. It's like assigning geometry to it, basically, and stretching the texture. I'm not sure if that's working, but we're just going to keep throwing stuff in there until something sticks. I already like some of that color. Like I like this kind of like light brown. I'm not sure if that looks kind of silly. But again, we're gonna figure things out. So I'm gonna get rid of that. I don't know if I like that. Again, it pastes it on top, so you just gotta. Oh, that's cool. Look at that. Okay. And then we're just gonna clone that and bring that over. I'm going to collapse all of these. As you can see, there's a layer stack on top of this mask. And I'm just going to collapse it so it's all one file. Sometimes I even paint on top of it just to kind of take things away. And again, this comes with, you know, the practice. You know, you might find solutions quicker in some cases. So I'll start to share those colors around. Matter of fact, I'll take another layer and put it in that layer stack. So whether if it's a paint, you know, you painting on top of it or using a texture, just as long as you have it in that stack, it's going to respect that form. You know, maybe I'll take a piece of this, bring that up, see what that does. There's already some cool stuff going on. It's kind of like this bone texture. It's Bone Thugs and Harmony. Space Bounty Hunter, huh? You can use weird, you know, other things too. You can use animals for textures. You can use, you know, I'm using car parts. Let's throw another texture in, see what else we can get. I like some of this stuff. It's a picture of an F4. See if we can use some of that. Oh, it already pasted right into that layer stack, so. Jeez Louises. The phone's going off. Man, that's a huge texture. I'm looking at a very low resolution right now. I do like this part. Let's just take that, turn off that, and drop the opacity so you can see what's going on. And really, you're just extracting form. You're extracting shape and form, and bending and skewing it to match your design. And you can spend hours, playing around with this stuff, man. It's just really, really fun. Really, really fun stuff. That actually would make a cool part of the shoulder, I think, too. Let's see. Let's see what we got. All right. Let's bring in one more texture. Just something. I kind of like these engine parts here. Oops. God, man. It's so huge. That texture is gigantic. Look at that. Alright, so I do like, I'm going to go ahead and snag some of that. And when I'm doing it at this stage, man, I don't really do it at high res. There's a few reasons. Probably the most important is my computer just sucks, man. I need something with better processing. Got good cards, but not the processor's old. So, anyways, let's see here. I do like. Let's start skewing this a little bit more. I like this little texture here. Again, drop the opacity. And let's get some form in there so I can use it as a tool. Like something out of Star Wars. Alright. Bring that down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the warp and just kind of follow those forms a little. Kind of cool. It's got like an accordion abdominal. And then we just flip it. Symmetry. And then after you do that, go ahead and stretch this out. Oh, I forgot about these cool little jet engines. This guy here. So let's borrow that. Bring that in, and then we'll flip it. Oops. We'll flip that. Bring that over here so that we have some symmetry. Now, since you're probably gonna. Drop the opace. There you go. Alright. So, get rid of this bottom. Erase that out. I'm going to go ahead and collapse these textures so it's all in one. Kind of cool. I think these arms, I like them, but I think they're too loud, so I'm going to start just painting on top. Maybe I should do it non-destructively and just create a layer in that stack again. Again, you can see it's in that mask layer stack, or clipping mask stack. And I'm usually really loose at this stage. I mean, there are plenty of times when I would discard a lot of this stuff. I just use it as a stepping stone. It's like a continuous evolution of that design. Something eventually will come out of it. I like these greens. I'm just going to carry those in a little bit. He's definitely kind of a weathered. I'm going to break this shape up a little bit. It's kind of weird. All right, so let's start bringing some ideas to the face. Maybe I'll use some of this texture already. So I'm just going to copy that. And you can use your illustration as a clipping mask. So again, this is a layer on top of that. I made a copy. And how I did that again was I have a hotkey for the selection tool. So the selection tool should be here if you can't see it. And you just simply circle what you want or shape what you want. Control copy, V obviously, and paste it on top. Now, what you have to do again is you have to hold Alt, and in between those layers, again, you see that icon changing? When it changes to that, you click that. Oops, that didn't work, did it? There you go. So now when I move it, it respects that form again. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop the opaque so I can see what's going on. Maybe flip it upside down. Yeah, it's kind of dope. I like that. Just kind of borrow that design language throughout and just kind of pepper it through. Something cool coming out of that. I'm just finding some really cool. There's some really cool stuff going on. All right. A lot of cool stuff going on. Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to go in and just kind of reestablish some forms and shapes. And, I can continue to do that and then continue to refine by using more textures. It can go on forever, and it has in some cases. You just get lost sometimes because there's so many awesome things that you're just fleshing out so quickly. Excuse me. Let's get some articulation in the mid-range. See, there's some cool there's some cool strap looking things that it's like a new Desert Stormtrooper or something. Elite Stormtrooper. Yeah, so pretty much, I mean, that's kind of how I would use it. Kind of. I mean, it's how I use it. And you start doing add-ons, you know. Maybe he's got a all right, let's try. I'm going to try to keep. I'm going to do this for an hour. I'm going to try to keep these. Try to do two of them at least. Get somewhere solid in an hour. So this guy here, let's hop on this guy, and we're going to do something a little different. Let's do something more organic, kind of weird, or at least something different from machines. Even though that still looks kind of organic, we're going to try to push that further. So we're going to use sea creatures. I grew up around a lot of these things living in the Philippines, so very fond of the colors and patterns and the shapes. So I like the face. Ooh, that's kind of a cool. Okay. I'm going through Google right now, looking at just picking through seashells and stuff like that. I like those colors and that crazy pattern there. See what we can do with that. And then these things, man. I think that we call these tuyom, sea urchins. And apparently it's really delicious, but every time I've seen it, it's always been in a fermented form. So, no thank you. Okay. So again, we're just going to do the same deal. Kind of put it on top of the form. Make sure it's directly on top of it. Drop the opaque. See, it's kind of inverted. And again, doing the clipping mat. Oops, is that the right shape? That's the wrong shape. Right here, there we go. And I'll highlight these red so you can see that stack. I'll highlight this green as being the primary mask, and anything red above that would be my stack, my clipping mask stack. Oops, wrong erasing. I don't know, maybe I'll use the color. I'm not really feeling those patterns, kind of weird. Alright, so let's use this, see what this is all about here. Drop the opaque. Throw that on top of the stack. Maybe turn that bottom one off. I'm not really feeling that. Start bending and skewing that stuff, kind of see. That's kind of cool, man. Yes, sir. I like it. You know, just to reinforce. Draw the center of the chest plate, abdomen, and then it should just kind of follow suit, you know. Let's just see that center line. All right, let's Where's that crab face? There it is. Let's get more color in here. I'm just gonna copy this whole thing and just blow it up. And I'm not so much concerned. I'm not too concerned about the. Put in mask and start to play with some of the layer options. Like, oops, my layer. I'm sorry, man. My layer stack was way off in the recording. I'll get better at this, I promise. So you can do a screen. Color would need some more information on the bottom. If you put anything and assign it to a color on top of a very dark background, it won't appreciate it. It won't respect it because there's no value for it to hug or to catch onto. So if I start painting under it with some value other than a dark value, some of that color will start punching through, which is what I want. Yeah, it's really cool, man. I like that. There he is, Mr. Crabface. So let's put him in a stack. Drop the opass. Start playing around with it. Oops. I'm gonna get rid of. And you know, this might force me to change the form under it, which I just might do. I'm gonna take it out of the layer stack so I can see it in its full form, because there's shapes in there that look really cool. I think I'm gonna keep that. Yeah. Very cool. You can do a color match, but usually I just start messing with sliders until I get that look I want. That's probably something I have to refine a little bit more. Is that a full picture? That's a full pic. There's some real cool stuff here too, man. Still in this shell, and let's bring in a couple more. Oops. Oh yeah, okay. See, that gives me a good idea. See, man, I just wouldn't be able to think of these things unless I had reference, and I'm so bad at it before. Maybe this one too. This pattern here is really cool, man. I'm gonna use that. Put it in the layer stack. Yeah, that's pretty dope, man. Like that. Okay, so at this point, I'm starting to lose kind of shape and form. So I'm gonna go back in and start sketching on top of it just to kind of reinforce. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna do it out of the layer stack so that I can start changing form a little bit more. And I'm gonna be borrowing from this awesome color palette that these pictures gave me. You know, they're all sharing colors and creating their own kind of palettes. Let's put this up a little bit further. There we go. And we'll get those eyes back in there. You know, maybe they're not crab eyes anymore. There's something different. Let's get a textured brush going on. I do love these textured brushes. That's not going to work at that resolution, isn't it? Sometimes flipping it back and forth helps me see things a little bit differently. Yeah, see, so sure if that stuff was working. Now I could put claws on them, but you know, it can be claw-like, I think. Not sure if I'm feeling this guy, but you know, for the sake of, I'm gonna push through. But for the most part, I mean, it really helps out. And I discard a lot of designs, but that's the whole idea. Is you know, you're exploring things that work and don't work, and that's kind of your job. You know, it's to kind of find design for that client, find a design solution. I don't know. Those shoulder blades look weird. Just bringing more symmetry to it. Yeah, okay. I like that. So I'm going to use one of these. feeling that, but his mouth moves sideways. all right. So almost forgot I was recording. Get that blue back in. Let's put more articulation there. Let's flip it, see if there's anything weird's going on. He just looks crazy, funny posing like that. He's getting ready for his Sears portrait. You know? Alrighty, folks. Let's take these guys and move them. And you can keep pushing. Obviously, you can keep pushing the textures and design and shape and things like that. But yeah, clipping masks, man, that's really helps out. You know, in terms of getting an idea across. And if you still want to, you know, draw things from scratch, that's okay too. But what's cool is you can do this process to create your own reference. So, you know, if you want to peel off a session where you really want to, you know, draw from observation, you know, and really clean that up, you know, you can do that. But having good reference would certainly help out. So I'm gonna do one last thing. I'm gonna hit these guys with some light. Fix some of this. And there's a lot of cool, neat ways to relight stuff. I think this is one of my favorites, to use, you know, a copy of your image or your layer and then just assigning it as a screen layer, and then assigning a mask on top of it to where instead of it showing, it disappears, and what you're simply doing is erasing light back in. And yeah, I can do a demo on that too if you guys are interested. That way you have control over it. You know, you can control the, oops, that's not good. It's controlling the mask. But you can control not only color but the intensity of your light source. You see, and it'll stay true to your color palette too. It's just a real quick, fun way to, you know, to light something. This dude here too, let's do that. So well, let's clean him up a bit. I didn't get a chance to mess with him. We give him 3 fingers. Talons. So I'm just refining shape. So right now I'm not really using any more clipping mask. I'm just doing a straight up paint over. But the clipping mask at this point served its purpose because it gave me my color palettes and it gave me some sort of design anchor to kind of pull from. I don't know. Maybe this dude keeps putting himself together with different parts. It's a little ragged. He probably took that off somebody, killed somebody, took that off of him. I'm trying to avoid I'm obviously getting carried away from the initial deal, but it is what it is. Maybe this robot still wears his old skull from the past. to preserve whatever identity he still has, like RoboCop. Okay, cool. All right, let's light this. Let's light this dude. All right, folks. I think that's it. That's basically kind of a cool way to get some quick designs out. You know, so we got a robot guy and a crab dude. This crab dude can use some work. I don't know what's going on here, to be honest with you, but you know, there's something to build off there for sure. You know, maybe do more referencing. That's kind of where I'm at. If you get stuck, do reference. You know. I don't know. Anyways, you get it. Again, some sort of crazy sniper rifle. But anyways, don't want to get too hung up. I'll probably end up working on this some other time. But hopefully this demo will help out somebody out there. It certainly did for me. I always learn something new, so regardless of what it is. All right, folks, signing off.